That's what we wanted. All right. Hey, good morning. Welcome. Hey, Fred, how you doing? Rashir?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
There we go. Get you unmuted there. Or am I the problem? Sometimes this happens when I unplug things and plug them back in. There we go. There we go. Now I can hear you. Excellent. Good morning.
Good morning again.
Yeah.
Morning, all y'all.
All right.
So what's the early bird prize?
The early bird prize is you get to raise a coffee cup with me.
Dang it. I just had my coffee.
Or tea,
No-
or you
no
can
more
have
cups.
tea or whatever you like. Scotch. I'm easy. Yeah.
Now you're talking.
Yeah, there we go. It's technically early. It'll be noon soon, but we got a good group registered here today. I'm really excited. We're gonna have a good group discussion as well. I think we got some good folks joining us who have been around the product scene for quite a while and have a lot of product vision thoughts. And we've got some examples to kind of talk about and go a little bit deeper into this concept as we're kicking off this series. We're going to be spending a lot of our time this month really focusing on the impact and nature of good product vision. We're going to talk to a few leaders about how they're approaching product at their company and how vision works into what they're doing and how they've kind of gone about identifying, creating, and communicating those product visions. And then at the end of the month, we just got set up. We've got an amazing workshop coming with a brand new product coffee face that we haven't met before, but a good friend of Jackie Flake and Phil Hornsby, who some of you know from the workshop that he did on roadmap development a few months back for our product coffee crew. And we've been kind of chatting and looking at some content that she's been creating. And we've got a fantastic workshop coming up at the end of the month for product copy. So I'm really excited about that. How many of you guys that are on here already made it to Product Camp? I think I saw Fred there. Rushir, you were there. Who else made it to Product Camp? I know Jeff was. Excellent. Hey, Bonnie. I think.
Hey,
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. We'll let a couple more. Well, let's go ahead and uh, start doing a couple of introductions here. We've got a few people already on the call, so let's get into it. So, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, we do this almost every single week. Every once in a while we'll take a day off, but it doesn't happen very often. And I think, but when we do, one of the things that we like to do is just treat it like a good old fashioned in-person coffee networking conversation. And I would very much like to, and we take an opportunity to introduce ourselves to each other. And one of the things I really like to hear from everybody and to kind of set up the conversation is what has your attention right now. It's just really useful, I think, to introduce yourself and what you're working on and kind of where you are in your product practice to talk about, what are the things that you're thinking about right now? You can be very broad and general in terms of just kind of general product management topics. You might have a challenge that you're specifically trying to solve for, or you might have something you want to celebrate right now, and that's always exciting as well. And we love to celebrate with our community and with our people here. So if you've got a big win to share or you've solved a problem, please let us know about it. But I want to start. Bonnie, since you've been here a couple times before, if you would start, I see some new faces that we haven't seen or some faces we haven't seen in a while. Would love it if you would start off and just kind of introduce yourself to everybody here. Tell us what you're working on and what has your attention right now.
Sure. So I'm Bonnie Coleman. I'm actually in the Cleveland, Ohio area. I'm in transition right now, unfortunately, but I'm actually excited. I have an interview tomorrow. I've been talking to a recruiter for a little bit, so hopefully that goes well. And then I was just actually pinged to have a discussion about being on a board for a university that's in our area. So for customer experience. So some things are starting to, look brighter
Excellent.
down the tunnel. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Glad to hear it. So you're in Cleveland. I think industry's in Cincinnati, right?
Oh no, they're in Cleveland this week.
They're in Cleveland as well. Did you make it to that at all?
I didn't make it this year, but I have been in the past.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
I met Mike last year at or earlier this year actually at Product Camp Pittsburgh actually.
Oh, okay.
And boy, I love what they're doing with that conference up there at Industry. It's they're doing some really great stuff. So
yeah, they always have really great speakers and kind of breakouts. Their little side like coffee chats and things like that. So.
Yeah. Yep, and then of course we had Product Camp Atlanta here in Atlanta last weekend, which is a different kind of thing. It's not curated like the industry conference is, but it's also a lot less expensive. So
yeah,
you can do that one for free.
Yeah.
So, but good to have you back, Bonnie. Thank you. Good luck on that interview. Congratulations on getting some of those pings that you're getting. I'm glad things are starting to move forward for you, and continue to let us know if there's anything we can do to help you along that trail.
I will. Thank you, Jason.
So you bet. Fred from Fixed. Are you still at Fixed, Fred?
No. I think you may have gotten me confused with a different Fred.
There's another Fred Shook.
From Fixed.
Yeah.
Maybe last not. Name starts with an S, but yeah, no, this is my first time actually joining one of these calls.
All right, well,
I'm actually a computer science student here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and yeah, I joined more because in school they teach us a little bit about product management. I thought maybe it'd be a good idea to get a little bit firsthand, maybe not first-hand experience, but hear from you guys and kind of learn a little bit more of the ropes. For when it's my time to shine finally in the workforce, I can get a little bit more, understanding and maybe even work better with my product manager. So
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for being here. You're absolutely right. It's a great place to learn and kind of get in on that. Yeah. Yep. You're right. I called the wrong Fred out. I am sorry, Fred.
that's totally fine. Totally fine. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, you bet. Glad to have you here, and welcome to Product Coffee. So let's see here. And by the way, I'll if your camera is on, I'll put you in the queue to introduce yourself. And if you'd rather not, or if something's going on and you can't be on camera, that's okay too. We'll pull you in at the first opportunity. But let's jump over here now to Austin Smith. Hey, Austin, how are you?
Hey, Jason, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, great. Welcome.
All right. Oh, thank you. Yeah. So actually, this is my first Product Coffee as well. I was introduced to the group by a fellow by the name of Dan Gallenkamp. He put me in, I ran into him at a friend's house. But anyway, I'm excited to actually see what this is all about. I'm actually, similar to Bonnie, I'm in a bit of a transitional phase right now. I just left a company after 16 years and, had a product focused role in the previous. And one of the things that I didn't do too well, that I am going to improve on is network better in the Atlanta community, because I'm based here in Atlanta. I live in Decatur. And I really, and I was working for like a global company with international teams, and I never really, got networked well in this community, because I'd love to, for my next role, land something that's a little bit more local here, with some colleagues that I can actually see, in person on an occasion. So yeah, so that's kind of my process, and that's really what's got my attention right now. So thanks for having me here.
You bet. Absolutely. Glad to have you. Welcome. Yeah, Dan mentioned that he was waxing a little poetic about Product Coffee at a party the other night and might have a couple folks show up. So he said he sent a couple of people over. Is anybody else here that knows Dan?
I'm one of them. Yeah.
Feel free to raise your hand or jump in if you're another one of Dan's friends. In the meantime, let's jump over to let's see here. Let's say hi to Jeff Costa. How are you, Jeffrey?
I'm good. Nice to see you again, sir.
Yeah.
This is my second time, third if you count Product Camp last week. I'm also in a transition phase. So I was with Akamai for about 11 years, was let go back in May, did the job search, and start with MongoDB on Monday. So, it took a little while longer than I was expecting. It's certainly not the world it was a year ago, right? Yeah. With, the quiet quitting and all the things that were going on back then. But I for those who are looking for work, a couple things I can talk about that helped me was just making sure that your resume is easily scannable, because you have a huge amount of people that you are competing with. And I looked at a colleague's resume yesterday, and it was like a narrative, and it's going to go right in the trash pile. So like, if you're looking for work, it's a stupid thing. You probably heard it for all of your life. But when you're competing with more people, it's absolutely important. The other thing I would say is that if you're a product manager who has not interviewed for some time, there are coaching organizations out there that do a great job of prepping you. And I actually spent $250 on it. Best money I ever spent. My interview with Elastic, the next day was literally freaking point by point what this guy covered, right? And
wow,
it was amazing. And I knocked that one out of the park. And then the other thing I'll say in tandem with that is YouTube has a fantastic amount of resources about how to prep for a product manager interview, especially the behavioral questions and the how would you design an alarm clock for blind people type of questions that you will get. So a huge amount of resources there that I would recommend to everybody as well. So sorry, I ran a little long, Jason.
No, that's great. No, that's why we're here. That's I know we got a lot of people who are out there on the market right now. It is it's been a particularly tough market these last several months. So I think all of that commentary is really, really valued. And I would love an introduction to the coach that you worked with. Just, we might try to bring him or her as a guest sometime, just as kind of an extra for the community. That'd be pretty interesting to think about.
Yeah,
So,
and it's funny. You always kind of had this sort of an ego thing of like, I don't need a coach. What do I need a coach for, right? Like, I've done interviews before. I know my shit. And like, what you come to realize is you're out of practice. And there's just best practices you can follow that will dramatically improve your hit rate. So,
it's absolutely true. Are you a baseball fan?
I am.
So let me ask you something. The Atlanta Braves, I mean, regardless of how they might do in any given year, they've had some really good years and they've had some really not so great years, but they've had some of the best players in the world on their team, right?
Yeah.
What do they do for those players? Do they just say, hey, you got your skills, get out there and play?
Yeah. No, there's position coaches.
They got first base coaches. They got
right. Like the NFL is the same way, right? Like offensive line coach. Like you don't see them, right? They don't have a coach label on the side, but like it's almost like an ego thing that you're like, I don't need to be coached. I know, I've been around the block a few times, but like, man, I'm telling you, like in places like this in life, it's super helpful.
Yep, I'm a huge believer that we can all use some coaching. So thanks. Thanks, Jeffrey. Good to have you here. Let's see here. Who are we going to go to next? Let's jump down here and say hi to Rusher. How are you, my friend?
Hey, Jason. Hi. How are you?
Welcome back.
Thank you. And good morning to everyone here. First of all, I'd like to congratulate everyone, including you, Jason, on a successful product camp. It was a great meeting, and a lot of good sessions there. Definitely for me personally, again, also in transition right now. It was great to see people who I already know, and also great to meet new faces and new people. Some things that we take granted for, which is, socializing and networking. We understand in these times of life how important these things are, right? As Austin said, similarly, I have been for the last 5 years, digging myself into work. Of course, family is also there. So there's a lot of things going on around you. But I would say the most important thing, or the worst thing that you can do, is not keeping your network warm, and not having, meeting new people. So it's very important. And definitely, Product Camp helped a lot. So thank you so much for that. I'd like to, you asked if we would like to celebrate something. I think that is definitely something to celebrate, a successful product camp. So yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. But I got to tell you, I take zero credit for Product Camp Atlanta this year.
Being modest.
No, I do. I literally showed up, I wrote some checks, I talked to a bunch of people and smiled a lot. But I think let's bring up Holly Jewell, who's the president of Product Camp and really made it happen. Why don't you say hi to everybody, Holly?
Thanks, Jason. You're too kind. He does a lot more behind the scenes than he wants to admit to, mainly just making sure I stay on track. But yes, I appreciate that. That's the goal, right? If I do a good job, then your job should be easy. Just show up and wait. You're welcome. Write the checks. We do appreciate that. And we really appreciate all the sponsors that put the money in the bank account that lets us write the checks. So thank you to all of you that are on the call as well. So I really appreciate everyone who showed up, right? Product Camp is something I hold so special and so dear, but really it's made of who's there, right? In both in terms of the sessions, the topics, the cat who's going to join us here for a minute, say hi. Thank you. That's so helpful. Yeah. We need to have a Product Camp where we welcome the doors to all of the four-footed creatures as well, right? That we'll figure that out. Maybe we'll have it at a park or something and they bring your dog. But anyway, it really is, right? You guys decide the content, you bring the content, and then obviously, help us find sponsors and locations and stuff like that. So it's a community thing. I think that's what makes it so awesome, is that, as hard as I and the team can work, we can't do it without every single one of you. So I appreciate everyone who showed up, especially the people who pitched amazing topics. I haven't seen that kind of content in a while, honestly. And Jason and I both travel, and we go to other people's product camps, right? Both to actually get to attend a product camp, because we're kind of working when we go to these ones, but also obviously to, see what other people are doing and what other topics and things are out there, and get all kinds of ideas and bring back and make this one better. So I was super impressed with the sessions and the content that were there, and obviously the presenters in general. So it was a great one. Obviously an amazing location, and I'm really proud of that, and I'm really serious about the comment of, I hope to do great things as the president of this organization, but there is no up from here. It is only down. Prepare to be disappointed. So we'll continue trying to make this great, and help that happen by help me find more sponsors for next year. So we can, I don't know, get the stadium or something. I don't know. We'll figure something out.
We got a long, if we're going to go up from this year, that's going to be kind of hard to do. That aquarium was absolutely amazing. I can't wait until Ruth's photos are out so that everybody who didn't make it can actually see what it looked like for that day.
Yeah.
John says next year's is going to be at the Taj Mahal.
I do think, when we travel would be interesting as well. But we did have a photographer, for those of you who weren't there, and for those that were there. Yes, you were on camera. And so she will be getting those photos out there. Obviously, she does some excellent work in post-production. I did actually speak to her today, Jason, and she's trying to get that. She, unfortunately, like myself, ended up being really sick after product camp. So I don't know which one of you sneezed on her, but thanks a lot.
Sorry.
Yeah, it was probably you.
Yeah.
Anyway, great to see everybody. Glad to be here.
Thanks, Holly.
If we ever do it at the Taj Mahal and we plan it, I'm gonna volunteer to make it happen for sure.
Excellent.
Awesome. You're gonna be the tour guide, right? All right, Rashad, you're my connection. I love it.
Hey, Jason, quick thing that was on my mind here.
Yeah.
And this is gonna be very broad, but I've been thinking about this for over a year now. I think this is the right forum to throw this in and see if it has any value. Okay. So I believe, and I have talked to a lot of people around this, that there is a huge gap between our middle and high schools to the college and then their successful careers, right? For example, my daughter, 8th grade, does not know anything about product management, right? Mm-hmm. No, it might be something that somebody would say, she would learn in college. That's not a big deal, right? But it's just not product management. It's other fields as well that students at her age and even in high school have no clue about. And then when they are on to, their senior year, there is a lot of pressure on them to choose something from the variety of subjects that are in different colleges these days. And they just have to pick something up because, one, they might be getting scholarship in that college, or two, they have a little bit of knowledge about that, but they do not know if that career is right for them, right? Mm-hmm. So I was thinking of a couple of things. Now, one is to establish a program that actually, teaches them in middle school and high school what careers look like in real life. And we can start with product management because we have such a wonderful team out here. And I'm thankful to Fred who joined us this morning, because when Fred, you talked about how you are doing computer science and you wanted to know more about product management, that thought that I have been dealing with for quite some time, came afresh in my mind. So I would love, I know we are a big community, so maybe we can start something for students from college, from high school, right? So to guide them to that particular, and maybe product management is not for them, but they'll definitely learn something out of here. They'll start creating that network. And believe me, if someone from high school or college, start creating that network back then, when I was in high school, I did not even know this term of network or what it is about, even in college, right? So
None of us did. None of us did.
Right.
late in my career, I got to know something that, hey, you have to meet people, you have to talk to them, you have to understand what's going on around you. So if we start it early for students, in high school, I believe that'll make a huge change in their lives going ahead.
I love it.
Just
Sorry,
threw it out
sorry to
there.
break
I
in,
don't know
but
if it's viable or not, but
yeah, I'd love to, as the person who does the programming and stuff here, I'd love to, get some time and nerd out and get what's in your head and what you're thinking. I'm a former teacher, so I love so many things you're saying. I think there's great value there. It may be a separate, side track or different program, but
yeah,
I'd love to talk about that. I want to give back the helm here to other folks so they can get some
Yeah,
intros. And
let's
I know
do that.
we're on time, but
Thank you.
But let's take that separate. I love
Will
it.
do. Cool.
So, real quick, first of all, Holly, I don't think you're a former teacher. I think you're always a teacher, but at least you're not being paid for it anymore.
Well, the pay was insulting, so there's that.
But I do. So I've got a friend just in that vein, Rushir. I do have a friend who's in product management as well, Shandon. He worked with me at Method for a while. He is the founder of a company of an organization called Gigaplex Academy that is kind of tackling that adjacently. They're not tackling product management specifically, but they're tackling that gap between high school and career and helping young people find what they're passionate about and helping prepare them for that. So, but I think, that's absolutely a really cool discussion to have. I saw Sue put her hand up. I don't know if it was in relation to this or something else, but Sue, why
It's
don't you jump in
relationship.
here?
Hi, I'm Sue Burke. I've recently joined as official paid member, I think, of Product Coffee after
Premium member, yeah.
after hanging out for free for a while. I know, right? So I here representing myself and my experience, but also Product Development Management Association, which is a nonprofit professional organization for product developers and product managers. So what I was just about to put in the chat is we run a Global Student Innovation Challenge. So we offer for college students. We have not offered it to high school, but we do offer for college students a competition. And I'll put the link in the chat. Valuable prizes. No, we actually get real money, but not much. We have $5,000 to split between the top 3 teams. But we've had anywhere between 20 and 40 teams around the world. India, the winner this year was from the US, but Mexico and Germany were 2nd and 3rd place. India was 1st place a few years ago. US and Germany have always been in the top 3, partly because we have people on the ground interacting with them. We've had New Zealand and Netherlands, and anyway, the information is in that link. But we would love, it's open to anyone. You don't have to be part of PDMA, but you're invited to present at our annual conference, interact with professors and practitioners.
Cool.
It is the things these students come up with. But the whole thing is that it's not a pitch competition. It is truly, what is product management? What is product development? Who is your customer? What's their unmet need? Is there a solution for it? Is that solution viable technically? Is it viable from a financial standpoint? So it goes through the process of developing and launching a product. Now, they don't have to, most of them don't actually ever make it happen, but it's the learning process for it. And I think it's fabulous. Partly because I'm the one who does it, but certainly spread the word on this. So we have a portal that they can, we do need them to have a university advisor, an academic advisor, partly because we just want to make sure they aren't cheating and following the rules and they've got some support behind them. And this year we had a couple of people who entered as individuals. One year we had 11 people on the team, which was obnoxious, but usually 3 to 5 is a sweet spot for it. But we're pretty open on what the format is and what the input is. But check it out on that link. It tells you who won this year and who won the last few years and what it's all about. So, all right,
Very cool. Thank you, Sue. Really, that's great to know about, and I'm looking forward to digging in on that as well. And I think Holly's kind of picking up the ball to run with that a little bit as well. So that's really exciting.
Yeah,
So
I'll be happy to
great
do that, 'cause
conversation.
oh, sorry, Jason, I didn't mean to talk over you, but
Yeah,
I put in the chat as well, just a reminder to us here in Atlanta that Product ATL and other org, right, is very focused on that mentoring and students and the young crowd. So this would be a great way for us to partner with them. And I do talk to their leader often. So I think that's a great opportunity. So we can take this offline and make it something really cool.
Cool.
Love it, Sue.
And I also want to welcome for the first time here that is showing up as a first timer. Not everybody shows up as a first time. We got Eric Edwards. Welcome, Eric. So what we're doing right now is we're doing some introductions around the room, and I want to jump over to Meeling. How are you, Meeling?
Hey, Jason. Good to see you.
Doing?
I'm good. It's been a while since I was able to join these, so I'm happy to join today.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you. For those who don't know me, I'm a product manager at Delta Airlines, working on the messaging product. So that is the one where when you need customer service, you can either dial in or chat with us. So I'm over that chat, or we call it messaging, because there's a nuance that I can get into later on that. But what's been on my mind is what I've been feeling is, since messaging isn't necessarily like a standalone product, it feels more like a program because it's a channel. So we're having to incorporate a lot of other applications and development teams throughout Delta to, build enhancements and features that move the needle for our end users and our customers. So I'm feeling more like I'm becoming a program manager. And so that's something I'm not as familiar with. I just feel like the work that I'm doing is more of like orchestrating everything that goes into making messaging better, more innovative, et cetera, along with still tracking product development. So that's just something that's been on my mind about, like, as we're talking about reorg here and what my role really is here. It's not just product management, it's so much more. And so just curious about like if there's other titles out there that people have heard of that kind of fits into that.
So I've had some experience with the type of situation that you're talking about, and just real quickly, there's a lot of overlap in what you're doing between program management, product management, and customer experience management. You got a big CX role here as well. So there are, I think all of those things can fall under product management because there is a technology product, a technology capability that is customer facing, that is driving value, that is creating value for customers, and is measured based on the value that it creates. And there's just kind of a look at what are you measured on is going to have a huge impact on that. And I want to throw it over to John Mansour before we switch over to our main topic, because John's seen a lot of situations of different flavors, and he might have a perspective as well.
And give me a little bit more backdrop on that so I can address it more succinctly here in just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, sure. So, the product I work on is mainly an application that the messaging specialists or agents use to converse or have conversations with our customers, but that still affects the end customer experience too. However, to work on that, the application we use is a third-party vendor, so we have to work with them and try to get to the top of their roadmap whenever we can. But then we also have a VA team, virtual assistant team, that builds any interaction with the virtual assistant that the customer interacts with first before being passed to a specialist. And we also have like a separate application to take payments and to book a ticket for a customer. So it's just a lot of moving parts and applications and teams to bring together.
It is, and the best advice I can give you is to always start with the user interactions and work backwards into the technology platforms, because, with a lot of these things coming together, it can fragment the customer experience. And by the way, we love that messaging thing, and anything that prevents us from having to make a phone call and be on hold, we love. But think about all the different scenarios that a customer would want to engage from you, and think about what prompts it on upstream and what happens downstream, so you get a complete picture. And, as far as all your partners, take those scenarios to your partners so they can develop them for you with the outcomes in mind, right? Because all of you at Delta understand how to quantify that customer experience, right? If you know the message is this, or I don't get my problem resolved or whatever, take those scenarios to your third-party partners with outcomes or results that you want to get for your customers. And to me, that's the best way to elevate it up their roadmap, because all their other customers are throwing feature requests at them.
Yeah. Another challenge I face is influencing internally too. You know, Delta is such a huge place and everyone's got their own roadmap, right? They're like, well, we've been told by Ed or whomever, right? Like that we need to build these things first. So we can't fit your stories in, and agile is something very new here. They're just not accustomed to fitting, you know, small rocks and medium rocks along with their big rocks. So that's just an uphill battle right now.
All right. Well, we'll continue to dig on that. And you said a couple things that triggered a couple thoughts, but I want to move to our main program now, Mealing. But I think a few people can probably circle back with you. I saw Jeff Mehdi had some comments in there. There's a lot of perspectives. As for your underlying question, is thinking about the reorg implications, is this still a product role? I think one of the things I learned at IBM was how they layered the product role to where a product manager at the more senior level of their career essentially became the general manager of a smaller business unit built around the product and the customers and the ecosystem that went throughout. It was still a product or an offering management role with product at its core, but it did have those responsibilities across the entire organization and influencing and driving change through the organization. So I think as you're thinking about those implications on your career, a lot of it's going to come around to how do you want your career to evolve, and that's going to affect how you make your pitch for where you belong. So,
Jason, and thanks everyone for the insights. I'll keep reading them through the chat.
Yep. All right. So let's shift gears here a little bit, and I want to get into real quickly before we start our full program. I'm going to take a moment to give a shout out to and thank our sponsors. And we've got quite a few sponsors. I see we've got Jeff Mehdi here from Method. So let's hear, welcome Jeff. Thank you. Glad to have you here. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody a bit about Method.
Hey all, yeah, thanks for the opportunity. It was also at Product Camp, and yes, it was amazing. Thank you to everyone that helped that be a tremendous success, and I'm sure we can still find our way to go up from here. I am rethinking my own value stream after Jason said that connecting people and smiling and writing some checks and paying for some beer doesn't add value. I'm not really sure what I do after that.
Oh, it does.
But anyways. But anyways, yeah, so Method, if you're not familiar, we're a product consultancy. We work with product teams to launch and build new experiences. We look at the strategy, design, development, and we'll kind of help launch new products and platforms. We'll also help transition organizations to more modern product ways of working and things like that. And just always thankful to be a part of the product community. I'm based here in Atlanta, and if you haven't been to one of our Atlanta happy hours for product coffee, please join us on the next one. You'll usually find me there. Thanks so much, everybody.
Very good. Thank you, Jeff. Welcome. And do we have, I don't think we have anybody on from Sophion today, but I dropped links into the chat here. And if I'm missing somebody from Sophion, jump up and wave your hand. But I dropped some links into the chat, and please go over and check out all of our sponsors. They make this free meetup that we do every single week possible. Couldn't do it without them. And so, the best way we can thank them is to familiarize ourselves with what it is that they do, so that when we have an opportunity to make an introduction, or if it makes sense to bring them into a conversation in our own businesses, to at least give them the shot at earning your business. So when you have that opportunity, we always appreciate you at least reaching out and familiarizing yourself with our sponsors and getting to know them and creating opportunities when you can to thank them for supporting our community. And by the way, we don't accept crappy sponsors. So everybody on here is worth doing business with in the right situation for your company. So, and then we also have Genuine Parts Company. They've got, if you check the Product Coffee and Product Camp LinkedIn accounts, LinkedIn pages today, you will see there is tomorrow a hiring event here in Atlanta for Genuine Parts. If you're looking for an opportunity in Atlanta, and they are looking for Atlanta-based folks on this one, there's a hiring event. You need to RSVP for it. Run out to our LinkedIn or run out to our LinkedIn page, or check your email box. If you're on our mailing list, you've gotten some emails about this, and sign up for that. And Holly and I will be there tomorrow as well at the Genuine Parts event. We'd love to see you there. They're doing some really awesome stuff, transforming their IT organization into a product organization. It's going to be a lot of fun to be there, and they need some people that really get modern product management to help them with that. And we've also got, of course, we've heard a moment ago from John Mansour, but let's give him an official sponsor's introduction. And John Mansour has been supporting Product Camp and Product Coffee as Product Management University for as long as I can remember, since the beginning, really. And so, John, why don't you say hello and tell them what you got going on?
Man, you know, I wasn't aware of the new criteria for crappy sponsors. I'm glad I got grandfathered in a long time ago here. I wouldn't have made the cut.
We wouldn't be here if it weren't for you, John.
Well, you know, Jason, so before I talk about Product Management University, I am completely and utterly remiss. I wanted to say this in front of 300 people at Product Camp, at sponsor introductions, and I completely forgot about it. So all of you here, if you've been to any of these events, and I can say this because I'm, you know, have been involved with product management communities around the world, Atlanta is by far the strongest product management community on the planet Earth. And I say that very confidently. And, you know, when COVID came, or even before COVID, some of these organizations came and went, and a lot of them went and never came back after COVID. Atlanta remains strong. And the reason it remains strong is because one person has kept this Atlanta family together. And I wanted to give him a big fat round of applause at Product Camp. Jason, you are the man, right? We wouldn't be here. Product Coffee was, you know, came about because we couldn't get together at product camps and do things like that. So, Jason, thank you very much for keeping this community together and making it stronger. Holly, everybody who's been involved in Product Camp, just, you know, you guys are like a sales team that blew its number so far out of the water. The bar is going to be way higher next year, Holly. So you better start thinking about it now.
We've already been talking quota.
I'm training.
All right, so big doings coming this Friday. So I am hosting, for all of you Product Coffee members, premium members, a 2-hour workshop on Friday. For those of you who want to get a taste of doing value-based product management, meaning if you want to deliver guaranteed value to your customers, you got to know what value is and how they measure it. And we're going to talk about how to do that and then use it to prioritize what's on your roadmap and backlog. So 2 hours worth of that on Friday. Looking forward to seeing a bunch of you again. If I saw you at Product Camp, we're going to have some more fun with it.
Absolutely. And we are giving, I sent out earlier this morning, John. So that workshop, by the way, it's for, there are three prices for it. One is $199 for the general masses. If you're on the Product Camp Atlanta mailing list, I sent out a coupon today so you can get in for 20% off of that. And if you're a Product Coffee premium member, it's totally free. It's included with your membership. And you can go to productcoffee.com/premium to check that out, or productcoffee.com to check out the workshop itself. We would love to see you there. And for those of you who haven't taken any of John's training, John's got a ton of workshops and experience and entire courses on product management. And I think the least expensive course on your website is $250, and that's for one module of a major course. So if you want to think about the value of the time that he's giving to our Product Coffee community for pennies on the dollar, you don't want to miss this workshop. And it's right in line with some of the most important things that we do as product professionals. So thanks for doing this, John. I'm really excited and looking forward to that Friday workshop.
You're welcome. And if anybody wants a little more after that, 25% discount to Product Coffee premium members.
That's right.
Full bore training. So you get a 25% discount off of our list price, which are all on our website.
Yep.
I was just
So-
going to add, if you're not a Product Coffee Premium member already, I mean, I think that's the winning selling point right there. I mean, seriously, getting John's workshop for free. Sorry, John. and then you get a discount to take more. I mean, count me in.
So thank you, John. Thank you, everybody. And thank you to all of our sponsors. We also have feature upvote at productcoffee.com/ideas, where you can make suggestions for the types of things you want us to hit on and cover here. Not the type of people you want us to hit on, the types of things you want us to hit on. So thank you to our sponsors. Now, we were just talking about the workshop, so I'm not going to spend any more time on that this morning. I do want to, we've got Manesh here, who is part of our book club team. It looks like Allison couldn't be here with us this morning. We just finished our most recent book club, where we covered Jobs to Be Done by Stephen Wunker et al. And it was a great book club. We had a great authors chat with Stephen a couple of weeks ago as well. We'll be firing up a new book club soon. And I don't think we've selected a book yet. Have we, Manesh? It looks like you're busy, so I'm not going to make you come off of mute and blind camera. But if you go over to productcoffee.com/book club, you can sign up on our book club list, and it's free. And you'll be in the loop for our next book club opportunity. If you're a premium member, you can jump into the book club channel in Slack, and there will be a poll very soon for the next book, and you can be a part of that discussion, selecting our next book that we're going to read. All right. And with that being said, the last thing that I want to point out is, if everyone could please run over in your web browser, open up a web browser and head to productcoffee.com/notes. And for those of you who are new, one of the things that we do is we open up a community notes document. We take notes together, and especially in a town hall discussion like today, we're going to cover a lot of ground. There's not a whole lot of slides or anything. I've got a few slides to kind of help with the discussion, but you're going to hear ideas and thoughts. And it's really valuable if we take notes as a community. If you drop your thoughts, your questions, references to sites that you've seen or articles that you've read or books that you've read that you think are particularly valuable on this topic, add to the value. This is why we do this as a community, not as a webinar that somebody stands here and talks at you for an hour and a half for. So we're going to do that. So productcoffee.com/notes, join us in the document. So for those who are just joining us, my name is Jason Brett. This is Product Coffee. We meet every week and talk about the things that product managers need to talk about as a community. We move beyond the certifications and get into the meat of what it takes to be an effective, influential product manager. And today we're going to be talking about 2020 product vision, or what does great product vision actually look like? And we're going to do this as a town hall discussion. So we're going to talk a little bit about some foundational kind of concepts, and then we're going to share some examples. And I would love to hear some examples. Be thinking of examples from your own current role, or maybe your most recent role, or a recent role, the company that you've worked with, and good examples of product vision, not so great examples of product vision, and questions and product vision that you're not so sure about. And we're going to talk about some of the issues that arise from having great vision and having not so great vision, and how to create alignment and awareness. And I know John's got a lot of thoughts on this. Jeff's got a lot of thoughts on this. We got a lot of folks who have had a lot of experience in this space. So let's get into it. And I'm going to share my screen in a moment when we get there. So just by way of definition, there's a quote out here, and I've got it on the screen right now, and it specifically says product vision is the long-term objective for the product and serves as the North Star for the product team. Now, if you wrap this in quotation marks and Google this statement, you'll find it on hundreds of websites, literally, and blog posts all over the place. And nobody has ever attributed to who originally said it. I can't tell you who originally said it. If anybody knows, please tell me. But it's just kind of part of the fundamental premises of product management and product vision at this point. So Product vision, though, is something a little bit different from a company vision or even just a general vision. And I know, John, you talk about portfolio vision as well, and it's kind of in the same realm here. But your product vision is how specific products ultimately contribute to the corporate or the company or the business vision. How, if we have a large business vision and a mission, how does each product in our portfolio contribute towards us achieving that vision? Now, we have some folks that are really fortunate, or depending on how you look at it, in the different stages of company development. And Toby, I want to, Toby, are you on here? Let's pull you up for a second. Hey, Toby is Chief Product Officer at a company called Food, and you're fortunate enough to have a company vision and a product vision are the same because you're kind of fairly young. But talk about what your vision is.
Yeah. Hey, sorry I'm off camera right now, but I will do that. So yeah, so Food AI, we're trying to, our company vision and our product vision are to eliminate food waste at a global level, not to reduce it by 50%, not to focus on the US, but to eliminate food waste at a global level. And so there's obviously a KPI, a very strong North Star metric that is built into that statement. And it very clearly tells what we stand for and what we do and what we care about and why we care about it.
And I think I love that vision because I think it combines all the best elements. One of the things that your vision doesn't necessarily specifically talk about is who the customer is. And it's not particularly necessary in your case because you're talking about you're talking about a world change that you're making. Now, some products need to talk about that, and some visions need to talk about who the customer is and niche down and get really specific. So, but
and part of that is strategic, actually. Since we're an early stage startup, we're focusing right now in food retail and grocery specifically, but there's no reason that we wouldn't expand into fast casual Chick-fil-A, into big box stores, anywhere where food, HelloFresh and all these little delivery kits. There's so many applicable streams that we can go into that we actually didn't want to limit ourselves with specifying a specific industry.
Mm-hmm. But right now, you're creating a platform to enable this world change, right?
Exactly.
And in the future, you may have other products that would have a more granular product vision, as you mentioned, to impact retail or to impact food service and so on. And that's where those product visions start to break away from the corporate vision, from the big vision, into more granular product vision.
100%.
So cool, thank you. And so I want to give another example that's really interesting. And for this next example, I'm going to use, and John, we are definitely going to come around to your blog post, which if you go out to productcopy.com/events and click on the link for this event, I've got some blog posts on there as well. And the first one is John has an article on crafting a product vision. We're going to come around to that in just a minute. But he pointed out that Toby passes his acid test with the three critical elements. Next one I'm going to use, we had a session back in 2021 about going from positioning to vision, and we used Jeffrey Moore's product positioning template from his book Crossing the Chasm to craft future-looking product vision statements. And it's a common approach that you'll see a lot of product teams use these days. And it's essentially, you have this template that says, for a certain customer who has a specific need or opportunity, your product by name is the category of product that does something, and then unlike your competition, you do something, you have a differentiator. And so what I did, just to kind of continue to tee up this conversation, is I used that template to look at a really good classic case study. I think Clayton Christensen talks about this in The Innovator's Dilemma. But I want to specify that this template, as Moore writes about it, is about product positioning. It's about where you are now, but we can also use that same template for your vision, which is where you want to be 3-5 years down the road. And it's just a matter of using the exact same language, but just not making it about the now, making it about the where you're going. And it's a really powerful tool to encapsulate your entire product vision, which is bigger than a statement, into a statement that you can share and use to align people around your team. And then you can continue to iterate on it and make it your own. Let's look at Kodak. And this is an example that everybody loves to hate on because Kodak made a big mistake back in the 80s and 90s, and they completely missed the digital evolution of photography. And they didn't have, I don't think we can find a product vision statement out there, certainly not one fitting Moore's template because, well, Moore hadn't written the book at that point. But he did, but we can kind of assume what it might have been if we look at how their business was operated and the passion that they had around making great film. We might imagine that they said that for photography enthusiasts who value high quality prints, Kodak film offers superior color and detail. But unlike other film brands, our product captures moments in a tangible, lasting format. I mean, maybe that's not so great, but it's an example that focuses specifically on the product itself, not the outcome that it creates. So let's go into the Marvel universe for a minute and play What If. What if Kodak had actually focused on the outcomes? And I think John will like this one. So for people who treasure life's moments and want to preserve them, Kodak photography products are committed to constant innovation and delivering higher quality photos more quickly. Unlike traditional photography solutions, our product is designed to evolve, meeting the changing needs and preferences of our customers. Now, we could also talk about the quality of the quality of the output that they're constantly focused on generating. There are lots of ways we could do this, but the difference here is we have a positioning statement in example one that is focused on a specific technology. It's focused on a product that's based on a technology, where in this second positioning statement or vision statement, we're talking about a product that is focused on an outcome, getting people who treasure life's moments and want to preserve them high quality photos more quickly. So I like that example because it gets very real about the impact of a poorly considered product vision that has a finite shelf life, and a product vision that helps you, that enables you to focus on the outcome and evolve as your customers do, and evolve your product set or your portfolio set. So I'm going to end the presentation. I do want to do one more actually. Let's see, you can see, can you see the LinkedIn page now?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the modern example. This is right now. And I love this because LinkedIn as a company has a vision. They say LinkedIn's vision is to create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. But then there's a product and a technology set within LinkedIn called the economic graph. And our economic graph insights help us achieve this vision. This is a great example of how a specific product rolls up to the company vision with a product vision. So our product, we work with governments and non-governmental organizations around the world to understand the rapidly changing world of work with detailed and dynamic data. So this is not about a specific technology. Once again, it's about an outcome, understanding the rapidly changing world of work with detailed and dynamic data. This will transcend all of time. But we have a specific product that is focused on delivering this outcome. And so I think this is a really powerful modern example. It doesn't use that template, but it's talking about here's our vision for our product. This is what we do. This is how it's going to change the world. It's how it's going to help our company change the world for the better as well. So let me stop the sharing now and get back into the conversation. So that's the tee up for the overarching conversation today. And what I wanted to do from here is just take a moment and see who else we've got on the call here. And if you've got some hands that you'd like to raise, that would be great if you'd like to jump in. And what I'd like to do for a moment here is talk about some examples from your world that you've seen that, you know, or share an example of a product vision, how you would state the product vision that you have in your portfolio right now, or maybe one that you had in the past. I'd love a volunteer to jump in on this. I've already called on Toby to help out with that one. And I know, John, I know you've seen lots of examples in your career, and I think you might have. And let's talk about your blog post for just a moment, some examples that you've seen through that as well.
So, I am a big fan of the portfolio vision and company vision being one and the same. I mean, your portfolio products is your company. Mm-hmm. And so, Toby, I'll start with your example. I mean, that's what your company stands for. No matter how many products you have, when you get big and bad and bold, all the products are going to be to, eliminate food waste. And so when I talk about it, passing the acid test, right, that will never be 100% achieved. There will always be an opportunity, whether you are a food manufacturer, a restaurant preparing food, or even take it into the, people's homes. I mean, and it can be measured. I mean, you can measure how much food is being wasted. So it passes all three of those. And so to me, when the company vision and portfolio vision are one and the same, it makes everything easier for everyone. In fact, Jason, put your slide deck back up and go to the Kodak slide that had the roll of film on it. They totally missed the boat. They had their portfolio vision in a phrase at the bottom of that slide. They just missed it. They wanted to do product. They wanted to talk about their product.
You guys, I worked at Kodak for 30 years during that time. I got some information in the chat.
Awesome.
Cool. All right.
This is not the real story, but you guys go ahead, and at some point we'll have a conversation about really what went on and why it went on. I was in digital output, and I sat in a meeting with the people from the research labs that went to Kodak office, to the top people there, and showed them the digital adoption curve. They knew what was going on. They chose not to adopt it because the manufacturing margins in the digital were 20% versus 80% in the chemical product. And the infrastructure was in such a way, they did a fabulous infrastructure for quality, et cetera. And they couldn't maintain that with the lower manufacturing margins. And the real crux, sorry, I'm taking this offline.
No, this is great.
The real crux was when Antonio Perez was hired as CEO from HP. He wanted to be CEO of HP, and they did not choose him. They chose Carly Fiorino. He was pissed off. Kodak hired him, and he decided that Kodak would take all their research money, all their information, and they would go into going head to head with HP in digital output of inkjet. So Kodak had good inkjet. I was in that division for a while. They had good quality, good technology, and he decided he wanted it the same technology as HP's, which means we had to reinvent so we could circumvent HP's patents. And then, so he just completely changed the whole thing. He bet the farm on this, and it was a stupid move. I mean, that's really what happened. And then the people at the top, he was the CEO. What are you going to do, right? So that's what happened. It turned out that their infrastructure was such that it really could not handle the lower margins. And then he took the technology in the wrong direction. And actually the biggest issue was when things started going down a little bit, what Kodak did was they sold off their commercial and government systems to ITT. What happened was we had huge influx of government money and military money to get that high-end, high-quality, front-runner imaging technology. That then filtered down to the commercial technology, which then filtered down to the consumer. When they sold off ITT, they didn't have the money or the information or the desire to get that high-end stuff, which then could trickle down. So they lost their front, the front running. And so it was a whole series of management mistakes.
And to me,
and also their development business deflated so fast they didn't have the cash to go buy out new technology either. So
Right,
Sure,
not that
there
they
were
needed to buy-
absolutely.
Not that they needed to buy out any technology, they had it. Kodak had like 5 ways for input, 5 ways for output, 5 ways for storage of images. They had it all, and they blew it.
There is, you know, those are absolutely, first of all, thank you so much for bringing that context. There's a lot of chatter here in the chat as well that's like right in line with what you're saying. And I think the reality, you know, I kind of made up this case study to support the discussion today, but the reality of what you're saying is, I think, right in line with what we're talking about. Whether it was based on the technology focus, there was certainly a vision that was based on Kodak's internal needs,
Yes.
internally focused vision, as opposed to a vision that was focused on the customer. We talked about competitors. I saw Jeff Meddy talked about, you know, if this had been focused on the customer, then this wouldn't have happened. And Jeff Costa said, you know, it was on competitors. So all of these things are true in the same context. My case might have missed the mark a little bit in terms of the truth and reality, but I think the underlying root cause is absolutely keeping that product vision focused on outcomes and customers as opposed to technologies and internal needs has a massive impact on how your business evolves.
And Jason, real quick, and then you can take the slide down. So imagine if the vision for Kodak, and it's a phrase right here. You talk about the ultimate customer outcome. It's the last phrase of the last paragraph here. Capture moments in a tangible, lasting format, whether it's physical or digital. That's the ultimate outcome your customers want, is to capture moments in a tangible, lasting format. Period. End of story.
Yep.
I think
And
part of the
right,
challenge.
everybody's right. When your vision gets too focused on the products or the technology or your competitors, it doesn't last. And you know, LinkedIn's vision is great, right? I don't remember exactly what it was. Then all their products contribute to that. So LinkedIn's portfolio vision, it's the company, and it's right, create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. I mean, how simple can that be? And then everything they do supports that vision. You know, it just makes everything easy.
There's quite a bit of commentary in the chat. Other examples, questions, or thoughts on this that anybody wants to kind of raise up and ask about, or challenges that you'd like to throw out there?
I'll throw something out. I think in many ways, vision is also a leadership challenge, right? More often than not, few people actually know what is the product vision, if it even exists in the right format. And even if it does exist, it's something that maybe is recited once in a while, but people are in the day-to-day focusing on what they're needing to do. So I think if there is a strong vision, it's on leadership to consistently use this as a tool to inspire and motivate people and to focus the company back on ultimately pursuing this vision. Otherwise, it's just a statement somewhere on a website or on a PowerPoint deck that is not creating actionable activity in the organization, or is not creating tangible steps, and is not something that's affecting day-to-day life, so to speak. So ultimately, it comes back to leadership. If there is a good vision, taking this and making sure that the company lives up to that vision and is actually pursuing it.
I think that's a fantastic point, Renee. It is just crafting a vision statement. Crafting a vision is one step in the process, but making sure that it's well communicated and becomes, you know, when we talked at the beginning about it being a North Star, you have to actually actively make it your North Star and intentionally keep it as your North Star in order for it to be effective. I think that's a fantastic point. Howard, jump in here.
Sure. And you said remind you if you don't stop sharing, you haven't stopped sharing.
Thank you.
No problem. So I'm working with a team right now it's an internal data and analytics team. And one of the biggest challenges I had when I started working with the team was helping them think about the work they do every day as a product, right? So they're responsible for a bunch of internal reporting. dashboards and stuff. So I asked them to take a step back, look at what outcomes they're trying to drive. And really at the end of the day, what they're trying to do is help their leadership make better decisions and understand the impact of their decisions. So I said, okay, well, take another step back, look 3 years down the line. What does success look like 3 years from now if you do your work well? And it's that executives can make better decisions with the right information, the right inputs at the right time in the right context, and understand the value and the impacts of their decisions. And so it's simple. It's looking at, reports and dashboards as a bucket of stuff that really creates a product, but they understand the outcome. They can say every day, is the work I'm doing today leading to somebody being able to make a better decision down the line? So it really has been that North Star. We talk about it, we talk about it in sprint planning. We talk about it, when we're doing retrospectives. How did the work we do this sprint actually contribute to that? So I've been pretty successful there. And it's been fun to kind of get them to, see the light bulbs turn on, like, oh, this stuff actually matters.
I would agree completely, but I would focus it into, it should enable the executives to achieve the overall vision of the company. So whatever tools you're doing, it still ties to the top mission or the goals. It's like
Amen. Absolutely.
The analytics. Yeah, it's the analytics they need to achieve the top vision or to whatever it is. It's really easy to tie.
Exam and chiropractic adjustment for just $29.
I need one of those, by the way.
I think they found themselves and muted themselves pretty quickly. I was about to dump, or at least mute.
$29 is a good deal.
Yep. So who else do we have out there? I'm throwing a little poll up here in just a second, but as a matter of fact, I'm going to throw it up here right now. I would love to get everybody to just kind of chime in on this. I'm going to throw a poll on your screen. It's a very simple poll. And so think about your current product or your most recent product and the product vision that guides the work that you're doing. And how would you rate your current product vision in terms of its completeness and serving that purpose as a North Star for what you do? And is it effective? Would you rate it if it's fantastic? Let's say it is focused on the outcomes that your product is trying to create. It clearly communicates what that North Star looks like, and your team and your organization are really focused on that vision and use it as a North Star. And if you're missing on two or three of those fronts, classify it as poor. If you're kind of okay, you're right there in the middle. And if you think you're crushing it, hit fantastic. And I would love, and I'm not going to call anybody by name, but I would love some of the folks who have answered fantastic so far. I've got a few of those. I would love it if you would be willing to jump in here and tell us about what you're doing. Just throw up a hand there or jump in. There we go, Joel, go for it.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So we're on the cusp of building out a portal for giving our clients and all the other companies that are in the ecosystem dealing with insurance claims, these particular set of insurance claims that we're involved with, access to the information and the ability to engage and incorporate and really enhance the collaborative nature of claims adjusting and third-party administration services.
Excellent. So
I can give you our should we read the?
Yeah, go for it. If
So
you got something written, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's support McLaren's businesses by allowing customers and other players in the ecosystem to be aware of and engage around their insurance claims.
Be aware of and engage around their insurance claims. And this is McLaren, not the car.
Not the car. It's within us, not the car.
So does anybody want to ask any questions about that, challenge that, or kind of give it some applause? Use your reactions panel. Tell us what you think. I see some thumbs up in there. All right. So thank you, Joel. Thank you. Who else thinks they've got a really good example of what they're doing? I know we talked about food there. Who else is out there? Anybody else want to jump in? So there are also some folks that said, we're kind of we're not doing so well. What I would love to hear, and you don't have to call out your specific company or your product or even talk about how you're expressing your vision. I would love to hear kind of some of your thoughts on where your struggles are and where you're seeing those challenges and maybe the implications that they're having, because we might be able to workshop a little bit of that here in the discussion today and talk about a step that you can take when you go back to work this afternoon that might start to move that needle in another direction. Anybody want to jump in and kind of workshop some of their challenges real quick?
I can talk about a challenge from like a previous job.
That's great.
Actually, I've had it in a couple of jobs where the mission of the company was to make these components, say like CPUs, which was the case at Intel when I worked there. But I was in a division that made the systems that use the CPUs. So the mission of the division was, to support the larger company to, do various things that would accelerate the adoption, for example, or sell more of those things. And like even in the last company I was at, which made disk drives. So our mission was to make systems which use disk drives in it. But the problem there was that we knew the market was moving, just like sort of, the Kodak problem. We knew the market was moving to, say, flash, which the company, made a little bit of, but really was a very minor part of the business. So the systems business could never really justify making a flash system product, because it had to support the 90% of the revenue came from making disk drives, for example. So it was really constrained. Same problem happened when I was at Intel and it was in a systems business there. So, and that ended up not ending well for that business, which was around for 30 years and got sold off last year for next to nothing. At one point, it was the fourth largest server business in the world. So I think that's kind of, I don't know if that's a specific issue with that, those companies I've worked at, but, you can see where the vision is constrained by the larger business of the company.
That's a common challenge, especially the larger and more mature the company is. I always like to say that, startups are like young children in that they're exploring the world. They're highly risk tolerant. They do things that might get them in trouble, that might hurt them. But as they mature and as the body matures and as the organization matures, it develops antibodies to risk. And that's exactly what happens with a lot of companies as they start to develop these antibodies. We have to protect this part of the business that works really well. Don't let it get hurt. Don't let it get destroyed. Don't let it get damaged. So we start making different choices and we create entire departments around removing risk from the organization. And it often has that negative effect of kind of stunting growth. Very common challenge, but I think you nailed the problem right on the head, and obviously you lived it. So thanks for sharing that. Anybody want to comment on that? John, I see you've got your hand up. I want to jump over to you next, and you might want to comment on that as well.
Yeah, I think the question to ask yourself as a starting point, and keep asking the why question, which is, what is the ultimate outcome in the B2B space? Anyway, what's the ultimate outcome your economic buyer wants from your product, right? And think of it as it's something that anyone in that position, no one's going to not want that. Okay. So Joel, when you talk about people can interact and get claims information, what's the ultimate reason why they want to interact with claims, right? There may be another layer where you could possibly simplify that one or make it crisp, is what's the ultimate outcome your economic buyer wants from the product? And I think the number one hardest thing to do is to not make it about the product. Because if it's about the product, products change, technologies change, all kinds of things change. And the reason we call it a North Star is because the position of the North Star never changes.
Right.
And so
well, I just have an example there, where, at the last company I was at, which were again making enterprise storage, we knew what customers wanted, was to solve their business problems. Say they needed to back up their data in case of a ransomware attack.
Yeah.
So we understood that, and we made the hardware that did that. But of course, you need software, and we knew that like one of the common data management software was object storage, which we didn't make at the time, and we decided to make it ourselves. We had hundreds of engineers working on an object storage project, and I think this is where the vision and the capabilities of the company have to be aligned. Like the company wasn't a software development company, wasn't their core expertise. They hired a couple hundred software developers, but ultimately the project was not successful, failed, and that they laid all those people off and canceled the project and wasted a lot of money. And I've been a software development engineer in the past, and I think it's just hard for hardware oriented companies to be very successful at developing software, even though the company understood that, tried to develop it, hired all these people who had expertise in it. Ultimately, they were not successful.
Well, and I think, the products and the technology, regardless of what they are, that's always the how piece. It's not the what I'm trying to accomplish and why it's important. I mean, just reading between the lines of your conversation. I mean, if your company is in the business of storage, forget there are going to be a million different ways to help your customers store data. But I think the ultimate outcome they want is to never lose their data for business continuity reasons, right? That's why people buy whatever kind of storage they buy, whatever kind of technology they buy. They don't ever want to lose that data that would essentially wreck their business, even if it was for 5 seconds. And so that's why I said it's one of the hardest things to do, to just step away from the product and think about the intent of everything you do, which gets back to, and this is why I think the importance of the portfolio vision is really critical, because that the product visions can then support that. And you need that structure in place, because whether that way it's whether it's hardware or software, any product you're going to build, you're supporting that overall portfolio vision. And the dots connect very nicely together. The simplest example I use is think about the VCR, the DVR, and streaming video. The outcome never changed for us consumers. We want to watch what we want, when we want, where we want. The obstacles that each of those technologies eliminated was significant, right?
John,
Yeah,
oh, go ahead.
Go
No,
ahead.
you're good.
So yeah, it's just one thing to keep. I mean, hopefully everyone's tracking on this, and this. You need to have a good product vision, and you need to be focused on the customer's goals. But like, to get into some of these points where we're talking about choosing the right technology stack or whatever, that doesn't mean you're not going to make incorrect bets. It just means you're going to have conversations at all levels of the company where you're focused on the customer's need. You might still get a technology wrong and go down the wrong path. It's not that this is the end all be all. It's just at least frame the conversation. This is a very small thing in the overall success, but you can't even have a good conversation if you don't have it done correctly. But you can still fail with a great product vision.
And that's a great point, Jeff, because how you choose to help customers get that outcome, you may or may not choose the right path to get there. But the starting point is make sure you know what that outcome is, because if you don't know that, nothing else matters, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Knowing the destination is one part of it. Getting there is a different thing. But I love the old Yogi Berra quote: "If you don't know where you're going, you might not get there." Let's jump over to Nigel.
Yeah, great. Thanks. So all this is super helpful. I'm in one of the like meh categories. So I work for Toca Football. We're a soccer company, and at a high level, we are made up of many different facilities around the country, and each facility operates slightly differently. And this has posed a bit of a challenge in the question of who is the consumer and what do they mean, because there's slight nuances across the org, which is making it difficult to find a very concrete product vision. So that roll up, and then the second thing, I think Toby mentioned this in the chat, was like internally there's variations and different leaders and what they want. And so I guess my question to the group is, how do you drive alignment to the customer and then use that to influence, to help pull out everyone into the same common goal?
That's a great meaty question. I'll throw a first salvo, and Rushir, we're going to come back around to you in just a moment as well. So keep your hand up there, but I'll also look for some other hands if you want to speak about Nigel's specific question. So how do we align to those customer outcomes in the first place? And I think for me, the first step is having a really clear understanding of what those outcomes that your customers are really seeking are in the first place. And one of the best approaches to answering that question, that we've been having a lot of conversation lately around jobs to be done theory, and understanding the nature of the job that your customer is is intended to hire your product to do. I mean, you understand your customer and what they're really trying to accomplish. And that's done through a combination of qualitative and quantitative research, but building a real good picture of that avatar, that customer, and where your product fits into their life and what they're trying to really solve for. That's how you find that, in my view. And then from there, it's very easy to you've got data that you can show to your team that helps them understand this is why we're doing what we're doing. And I've heard John and some folks talking about getting back to why. And Simon Sinek talks about start with why. And Jobs to be Done is a great framework and approach to getting to the why in the first place. So that's where I start, and doing that discovery, capturing that view, and articulating it and communicating it opens up an entirely different level of conversation in your organization. It's not the what, it's the why. Who else wants to speak to that?
So, Jason, I'll chime in here. And I think the easiest and most straightforward way to quantify the value back to your business, and for those of you who are in the main session there at Product Camp, you know, one of the criteria for a good vision is it's quantifiable to the customer. You can measure the extent to which you're helping customers move that needle. And if you can do that, then bringing the value, what's the value of helping customers accomplish certain things that they can measure? What's the value bringing back to your business? That should be pretty straightforward. And you know, I'll go 1% rule here. 99% of the time, if the value to the customer can be quantifiable, the value back to you should be pretty easily quantifiable as well.
Absolutely.
I think another good way to think about this as well is we're all trying to figure out ways to do better product visions. Jason, I'm actually going to steal this from you, which is what's the world we want to live in? We want to live in a world where healthcare is affordable. We want to live in a world where it doesn't take 5 days to get a paycheck. We want to live in a world where we don't have to worry about getting sick going outside. I mean, there's so many things that we want in the world. And if our company is really successful, it's because it's solving one of those things. It's bringing people closer to the world that they want to live in, whatever aspect of that it is. And so thinking about how does our product achieve something that gets us closer to the world that we want to live in? And that comes back to how does it make people feel? And I think that product is inherently emotional as much as it is technical and intellectual. And so I think that's one tool that you can use, even if you're not at a food waste environmental startup. You're still doing things that impact people's lives and bring them closer to the world they want to live in. And if you think about it from that macro lens, like that's something, Jason, that you've said a couple of times that I really tie into. And I just wanted to echo that because I think it's a really powerful tool to think about how our products make an impact in people's lives.
Thanks, Toby. You know, I worked in MarTech for a big chunk of my career, and we were a B2B product, a product set portfolio. And one of the things that I constantly have my eyes fixed on, to your point there, Toby, is that ultimately, and this is super macro, our job was to deliver software that helped marketers be more successful in their job. And I thought about, in a world where marketers are able to deliver really effective marketing campaigns and get the customers the information that they need in order to improve their own world, well, my marketer, my customer, you know, they can remove stress from their lives as a human being and go home and have a better evening at home with their family, have a better weekend. And I would go all the way up and down the chain to, what does the world look like when my product is successful for my customer? And getting even further and further out. So that's always been kind of a driver for me. I think we've got time for one more. Let's go over to Rashir.
Hey, thanks, Station. So here's the thing. This is great conversation. So one thing that I have time and again reached back to when I am in a dilemma or in a challenge where I have to look at the vision and whether we are on it or not. There is a paper that I got introduced to in business in business school that's called The Power of One. And the power of one can help strategists, and believe me or not, all product managers are strategists. They help us to think through the single unifying theme that integrates all of their corporate activities, right? It has helped me in defining a vision of a product as big as that. And even when, it comes down to those deliverables in sprints or quarterly deliverables, it has helped me to prioritize a lot of, ambiguities out there and see what makes sense to that particular one vision, or that one strategy that is out there, and focus every energy and all of my time towards that. And that clarifies a lot of things whenever I'm in a dilemma or facing a challenge. So I would encourage the team. I'll drop the link in the notes to that paper. One has to buy that paper. I have bought it, of course, as part of my business school study, but it has helped me a lot. I would definitely be very happy to share that knowledge in a short session somewhere later. But I would definitely encourage everyone to go through it and read it if possible.
Excellent. Thank you. Drop that in the chat and in the notes document, if you would, Rushir, because we are at the top of the hour. So I do want to thank everybody who came and really brought some great conversation and discussion to the table today. Thank you, especially John, Jeff, Toby, Rushir, Nigel, and Joel for throwing some real world and Wendell for throwing some real world examples out there. Renee, welcome again to those who are joining us for the very first time. I got some of your names, and I think I've seen a few people who have been with us before, but this is their first time kind of introducing themselves on camera. But we had Eric and Karen for sure here the first time today. And I know we had Frank here for the first time. Thank you for joining us. We're glad to have you. And keep an eye on your inbox and LinkedIn. We will be back next week with a whole different take on communicating product vision in your organization. So looking forward to seeing you then. Everybody have a great week and a great day. And don't forget to sign up for that workshop with John Mansour on Friday at productcopy.com. We will see you next time. Take care. Bye.